Hello everyone to this bright day. This is Arvind Menon from EssentiallySports, and I am here with the one and only Anirban Lahiri. He doesn't need any introduction whatsoever, but I really want to highlight one instance that we would never forget. It's his 2022 Players Championship attempt where he overtook almost some of the biggest names in golf world, but ended up finishing second, just one stroke below the champion. Now gearing up for Lahiri 2.0 for LIV Golf, he's here with us in the tea time exclusive for Essentially Golf, your favorite premium newsletter and channel. So good morning, Anirban. How has the off time been?
Hi Arvind, thank you for having me. No, it's been a great time, especially recently. I've had I think just now a couple of weeks off, and I'm getting ready for the end of the 2024 season. I'll be leaving this upcoming weekend for Chicago and Dallas. So excited to have a strong finish and hopefully get another team championship win this year. Go back to back. That's the goal. So yeah, things are good.
Great, great. Even I am rooting for Crushers to win the team championship this year.
Thank
So,
you.
as you started with LIV Golf and your journey with LIV, let's begin by talking about the biggest career move that you have made in the near present.
hmm
Of course, it's the LIV Golf. The league brought a lot of new opportunities to the table, right? The group dynamics and its motto, Golf But Louder, itself has made a huge impact to the golf world. And there have been a lot of pluses to the event, but just like a coin, it also had a bit of criticism when the league initially
Yeah,
started.
yeah.
And you still decided to choose LIV Golf.
hmm
So what actually paved your path towards LIV Golf despite all the criticism, and how the sudden drift affect you as a professional golfer?
It's a very good question. When you look at Live Golf, there are many ways to look at it. You can look at it as a spectator. You can look at it as a sponsor or an investor in the game. You can look at it as a athlete like myself, like a professional golfer. And for me, I had to look at it from the third perspective. Um, as far as let me start with why I did it. Then I'll talk a little bit about all the different ways in which it was portrayed. For me personally, I moved to the US to play on the PGA Tour in 2016. 2015, I got there, and 2016 January, I moved to the US. And having moved there and played there for so many years, I had a family there as well. I think it was getting to a point where I started feeling like my golf was not getting better. It felt like it was a struggle for me, not so much in terms of performance. It was a struggle for me off the course, where I used to come back home. I don't think I had the right environment. Also, bringing up a family away from family, so to speak. I had my second child in 2022. And right around then, a lot of my close friends who I played LIV Golf, who I played PGA Tour with, started moving to LIV. So I never really had a plan to go to LIV. It is something that kind of happened after it began. I was sitting with my wife and I said, hey, we've always wanted to move back to India or go get back closer to home. I'm also the only child. So later in your career, you're like, we want to go back. We're both, feel very strongly about India and being home. And this was an opportunity for me to not have to necessarily live in the US. So I think a large part of the motivation was for me to kind of bring some balance in my life. I spoke about this a little bit when I was moving. But now when I look back 2 years later, I have zero regrets. In fact, I'm very glad that I did so. The one thing I always thought that if I was to move away from the PGA Tour, I would never want to compromise on the quality of competition because my goal and my purpose, in playing professional golf, I want to play against the best players in the world. I want to beat the best players in the world. I want to win tournaments that mean something. And Live Golf kind of gave me that opportunity, as you can see every week. I think the average strength of field, if you were to measure it purely in terms of, capability, uh, I would say the Live Golf tournaments are, you have to beat 15, 20 major champions, to even come close to winning a tournament. So it allowed me to do that. It allowed me to keep my level of competition, at the same level as the PGA Tour. It allowed me to have more balance in my life. We ended up moving now to Dubai, which is, where I'm speaking to you from, which is probably the closest you could probably feel like being in India. It allows me to travel, for LIV Golf and my tournaments pretty easily. So yeah, there were so many factors, that motivated me to make the change. Coming to, the criticisms, I spoke to my team, my wife, my parents, my coach, my trainers, and my close friends and people who really matter in my life. And I told them about what I was thinking and what I was feeling. And I think a lot of the criticism that was doled out was a little bit of a propaganda machine from, the PGA Tour, because obviously this is competition, obviously this is a threat. We've seen how over the last 2 years there's been a saga between, I don't know if it's LIV and PGA Tour or PIF and PGA Tour, but definitely there has been a lot of friction and a lot of things that have happened. So I think it was more of one company trying to protect its business interests. And, when that company is, pretty much the main organization or the strongest player in its field for over 30, 40 years, a lot of it gets believed, a lot of it gets accepted. And now again, it's good that we're having this conversation almost 2 years after I moved, because I moved in September 2022, and tomorrow will be September 2022. You look back and now you see how the people are not singing the same tunes that they were singing 2 years ago. So, my team, like I said, they backed me completely. They understood the reasons why I was doing it, and they also understood that a lot of the criticisms were unfounded. Some of them, I think, are a change in format. Even for me personally, I'm a purist. I love the 4-day format, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I'm also, as a cricket buff, I also love Test matches. I also love T20s. Is there room for both? Can the sport be better with both formats? Can the fans be happier with both? I feel so. I've seen how it's changed, and I felt like when I was moving, it was a similar kind of a phenomena to what happened in the mid 2000s to late 2000s when T20 format was coming up. A lot of the big players said, I don't want to go, send the B team, or said they send the juniors. And now it is, almost as important, if not more important than, say, the 50 over format, some will argue. So for me, it was also a transitionary phase. So I looked at it as saying, okay, I can either be one of those people who sits back and says, no, I'm going to, stay with convention, or I could be one of the pioneers who changed potentially, how people look at golf, consume golf. So there was a lot, I can go on and on, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you about the format and how LIV has shaped into a different entity altogether in the golf world. So you were talking about and you were talking about your family and how the PGA Tour, like being with the PGA Tour, had affected your time with the family. But still, right now in LIV also, you are just traveling across the world, right?
Yeah.
One day you are in Jeddah, the other day you are in Miami. So how do Anirban Lahiri as a player tackle these situations, and how does Anirban Lahiri as a player and Anirban Lahiri as a family man adjust to this fast-paced routine of LIV Golf?
I think, see, one aspect of what we do is, this is a part of our life. We know that we signed up for this. We are very fortunate and blessed to be in the position, I am at least, to be able to play all these fantastic events, travel the world and do what I love doing so much. I think the biggest compliment here, or the person who should get a lot more credit than me, is actually my wife. Because, at the end of the day, it's our wives and partners, who have to make the greatest sacrifice. It's kind of like, so I grew up as an army brat, I'm a Fauji kid. And you can liken it to having, a father who's in the army, because, they would go away for training, they would go away on exercise. There would be months where kids won't see their father. So it's not very different, actually. And luckily, both me and my wife are 4G kids, so we understand that. In terms of the upside, now I have a much longer off season, so I get to spend a lot more time with my kids. While we were in the US, they would travel with me. Now, like for instance, my daughter's 5 and she's going to school, so we have to wait for the school breaks. And every chance we get, they travel with us. They travel with me, and they come out and they see, what I do, what Dada does for a living. Obviously, they'll watch a little bit on TV and cheer for me. So it's it's great. I feel very lucky, to do what I'm doing, and lucky to have Ifsa, my wife, who's so supportive and understands, that it's not easy. So I think you need a village, and I think luckily here again now moving closer to home, whether it's my father-in-law, my parents, they come in. We have some very close friends. That makes me feel a lot better. That when I'm on the road, I'm not as worried or concerned, and that's just how it is. Till I hang up my boots, it's gonna be like that. But hopefully I'll get some time when I'm done with golf and my kids aren't already 20.
Great, great. So when we are talking about family, we cannot, put aside your team crushes, right?
Hmm.
I love watching all your post-meet interviews. It's very energizing. Like I sit in the middle of the night watching your interviews. So, like, how have Bryson DeChambeau and the crushes you see influenced your life as a player and, as a person?
I think it's been a fantastic journey, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of Bryson, Paul, and Charles that when we signed up, at least when the other three of us signed up to be on Bryson's team, to be a crusher, so to speak, we didn't really know what that was, what that looked like, or what that meant. But I think in the last 2 years, definitely, we have grown as a family. We have grown to support each other. You ask how I have changed. I have learned so much, from all three of them. Charles is one of the most consistent, hardworking, disciplined, and knowledgeable people I've met in the world of professional golf, and he stands out. Um, Paul is one of the most exceptional ball strikers. I love having conversations with him. He's a deep thinker of the game and of life. Not many people know that because he doesn't really let too many people, into his circle. So I feel very, privileged to be to say that I would say I'm probably in one of those few people to be in that circle and learning from him. Bryson, of course, he's an enigma. He's still growing, and there's so much potential for him to change the game of golf. I mean, he's already changed the game of golf in so many ways. When he came out, whether it was single length clubs, and then the one plane swing, and not one plane like his swing, which is his swing, uh, and then now with his 3D printed irons and what he's working on with the driver that should be coming up, end of the year to early next year, you see something very interesting that he's developing. So he's always working on, you know, uh, being a pioneer. He's always working on changing how people look at things normally because he doesn't. Obviously, it rubs off when you hang around some of the best players in golf, not just on the crushers, but on the league as well. But yeah, I think it's more than just a professional relationship. It's more than just a partnership on the golf course. We've been there for each other off the course. Charles is just coming off an injury. Paul was injured well, not injured. He was battling an injury for, the most part of last year. And to see how well he's played this year, it's fantastic. You feel very lucky. And actually, all four of us now we look forward to the next event. Not just from the perspective of competing and contending and getting into the thick of competition, but also to just spend time with each other, hang out and chat and play some practice rounds. And so it's fantastic. This is the beauty of team golf. And I think in a couple of weeks, once we head to Dallas for the team championship, everything changes. You're not playing for yourself. It's a lot of fun. and you don't get that week to week in professional golf outside of LIV. So again, very happy that I'm here doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely agree. The team dynamics has been awesome for you guys recently, and the last year also. That build up towards the team championship this year also, the build up, it has been great.
Thank you.
So right now I just wanted to I just wanted to stray a bit away from LIV Golf
Sure.
and talk about the PGA Tour for a while.
Sure.
So recently PGA Tour has been in a gripping situation, especially since the emergence of LIV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now Jay Monahan just announced that PGA Tour and LIV Golf would be starting 2025 as two different entities, thus further delaying the merger, which has been talk of the town since last or even before that, last year or before that.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, and how it's affecting the mentality of players at LIV Golf, whether it's affecting them in a negative way or in a positive way?
Okay, I think what has happened is, internally a lot of us players, and when I say us players, I don't just talk about LIV, I'm talking about the PGA Tour as well, because I have a lot of friends who are still playing on the PGA Tour, who I meet from time to time or interact with from time to time. I think we are all quite aware of what the ground reality is, which is, it's unlikely that a complete merger is going to happen. It's unlikely that, LIV goes away, or, the PGA Tour completely accepts what we're doing, or the players can come back and play on the PGA Tour and players can come here from I think so much water has passed under the bridge that how do you justify undoing or unraveling everything that has happened. So for that to happen in a way that everybody is nobody is compromised, or the least number of people are compromised, it's going to be quite complicated. It's going to take a lot of back and forth. It's going to take a lot of structuring and restructuring and things like that, which is why I think what Jay announced is probably just letting people know that don't hold your breath, because this is going to take a while. Honestly, it's not news to any of us who are playing either on the PGA Tour or on LIV, and we have been continuously communicated over the last year and a half, maybe even longer, especially the last year, because this announcement was made last summer, was that that LIV is going to continue to do what it's doing. We have a schedule internally for next year that they'll start announcing very soon. Business is going to continue as usual. We have been really well received, especially in the Asia Pacific region, in Europe. Just now we played in the UK. There was record crowds. I mean, it's very heartening for me to see that the change between 2022 and 2024 has been heartwarming for me. A lot of us, we are hearing the roars, we are hearing the buzz, we are hearing the crowds again that we didn't hear for a while. And for us, that tells us that we are doing something right. So, after doing all this work and getting us to this point of sense, I would say it would make no sense for everything to kind of be undone. So how do you go forward while having both entities carry on doing what it's doing? So it's going to take a while. So I think that's all I would say, because that's all I know. It's beyond my pay grade, like they say. I control what I do on the golf course, and my philosophy over the last 2 years of this sort of unrest, political unrest in golf, is just go and make birdies and just do your job and do it well. So I'm sticking to that. But I think it'll sort itself out. It has to. I think the bigger disturbance is not so much for the players, it's more for the fans, it's more for the sponsors, it's more for people who want to invest in the game. You don't want the viewership to be split forever. You want them to come together. You want people to watch both Test cricket and T20 cricket. You don't want the Test cricket viewers to look at the T20 cricketers and say, "Oh, you're not watching cricket," and the T20 guys to look at the Test cricketers and say, "You're a dinosaur." There's no need for that. There's enough room, enough space. So I feel that in the future, the way I see it is that both entities continue to grow in a mutually amicable and friendly way. I think that's the best way for golf.
Yep, absolutely. So we just talked about how PGA Tour is planning 2025,
Mm.
and there's this one thing that I really wanted to highlight. It's the creative approach that they recently took with the Creative Classic.
Mm.
But players like Bryson and even all of your Live Golf social media, like you all guys always do something intriguing, and like even if it's Crushers or if it's the Aces, you always have this creative aspect to your not just the gameplay, your social media and everything.
Mm.
So do you think Live influenced PGA Tour's current situation in any way? Because of course you guys were pulling great in numbers, and PGA Tour has been getting a bit, gripping with their viewership. And Creative Classic was sort of a massive hit also.
See,
So what's your
yeah. So my thoughts
yeah?
are, initially, and again, I'll speak on behalf of Bryson now because again, I've spoken to him at length on this. We all know what he's doing on his YouTube channel, on various social media platforms, and I know exactly what his mindset, approach, and long-term view on all of these things is. So one of the main reasons that he came over from the PGA Tour was the fact that he has, the room, he has the ability to do all of this. He understands what the fascination of the imagination of the younger generation is today, and a lot of it's actually on your handheld device. So the whole idea was how do we interact, how do we get content, how do we create engaging media for that demographic of person, because they are not going to necessarily switch on a TV and look for cable or look for even a streaming platform on a television as much as the handheld, which is your phones and iPads. And so he has, what he has done over the last 2-3 years has always been with this intent, and that was one of the main reasons, he came over. And that's a very important part of LIV, where their focus is to look at alternative growth mechanisms. So definitely, you asked me a question whether the PGA has been influenced. 100%. There is no doubt, like whether you look at the change in the structuring of their schedule, you look at the change in how, now they have these elevated events. If you were to break it down, it looks exactly like a LIV event with a few more players than what we have and no team competition, but everything else is exactly the same. So all the things that we got, criticized for, no cut, it's limited players, you're doing exactly the same thing. Albeit you have different sort of criteria to qualify. I get it. You are an established tour, you've been around for so many years that it's easier for you to do that. And I see LIV reaching that point, over a 5-10 year period. So whether it is influencing the structuring of their tournaments, whether it's influencing like the Creator Classic, because in America, which is the largest consumer of golf, most of golf again is consumed on social media platforms. So if you don't tap into that, then you're missing out. Which is why, like even for us, when we are playing our pro-ams on LIV, I think every week, at least 3 or 4 of us are playing a pro-am with some creator or some, YouTuber or some influencer or the other, because the whole idea is that through their viewership, through their reach, you get golf out to those people who may not necessarily be, golf consumers. The Creator Classic was more focused on the golf consumer anyways, but I think the trend as it goes forward will not just be the creators and the influencers in golf, it will also be other kind of creators and influencers, because that's how you'll grow the game. So I'm happy actually that the PGA Tour is doing that. I'm happy if the game of golf grows, whether it's DP World Tour, Asian Tour, PGA Tour, Japan Tour. There's room, and this is a beautiful game. It's given me everything in my life. I've learned so much from it. It made me a better person off the course. So all those things are going to happen to other people, whoever comes in contact with the game. So I'm happy, and I think that is the way forward.
Yeah, I also absolutely agree with that, because taking a creative approach like what LIV did, it's the future of golf, right? So
I hope so.
when we are So when you are talking about how the future seems, I would like to dip a bit into the majors.
Sure.
Because that has been a problem
Yes.
for LIV Golf to
Yes,
qualify for
absolutely.
the events, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this year from Bryson to Rame, almost everyone from LIV who was at the majors was impressive. But still, the chances for LIV golfers to qualify for majors are pretty slim. So, how do you perceive this problem with the merger also not happening and
I think I think
the
the
win is pretty
solution
low?
I think the solution to the situation, Arvind, will lie. I think the ball is in their court. When I say their court, I mean, the Augusta National Committee, the USGA, the RNA, and the PGA of America. They are the four bodies who own the four majors. They run the events, they make up the rules, they decide criteria for qualification. It's their baby. I think now, after 2 years, they've seen what has happened. They've seen every year we've had a major champion come out of LIV in that period. Not just major champion, but in Bryson and Brooks, there have been others who have, like John, who have really gotten close, who have competed. I'm sure there's some of us who haven't played their best in the majors this year, but that happens with everybody. There's a lot of PGA Tour players who were expected to play well who didn't play well. There's a lot of LIV players who didn't play well. But if you look at the positive side of it, there's absolutely no doubt that the quality of golf is fantastic on LIV. The quality of competition is very, very high. So the question becomes, at what point of time would these four bodies recognize that and say, maybe it's time for us to give 6 or 8 spots or 10 spots to LIV, to players who are not already exempt into the majors. You already have certain major winners, but then we have our individual points list. We have our own list where the whole year, you're working towards not just finishing in the top 24, finishing in the top 3, which is a bonus, but trying to finish as high as possible on that individual list. And if you look at that list and you look at the guys who are in the top 10 or 20, if you tell me that these guys shouldn't be playing a major, then you have no idea what you're talking about, because any of these players can compete, can contend, and definitely play golf worthy of playing the best and the biggest tournaments in golf. Like, the majors will always be the pinnacle of golf. There's zero doubt about it. But I think you can just resolve this without. See, the merger has nothing to do with these four events. These four events are independent events. It's not owned by the PGA Tour. It's not run by the PGA Tour. There's no ownership or operational element to do with any tour per se. They have their own bodies, their own committees. So, it's a matter of them coming together and saying, okay, let's do something. I think it's going to take one organization to be brave enough to say, okay, we'll be the first ones to do this. I think we're going to do it, and we're going to just not 1 or 2 invites, but actually create a criteria for LIV golfers to come and compete. And then it kind of solves a lot of issues. It solves a lot of our problems, because I'm very motivated to play the majors. I tried to qualify this year. I came very, very close and narrowly missed out on both the US Open and the Open Championship. So I'll continue to strive, to get into majors and play well in majors. That's always been my childhood dream. That's my real dream, So I will continue to pursue that. I'll continue to work towards that. But yeah, there are solutions outside of, that are not as complicated. But it's going to take, a leap of faith, or it's going to take someone to be brave enough to do it. I think everybody else will follow immediately after. That's my personal feeling.
Absolutely. Like, we also want someone of your caliber at LIV Golf, not LIV Golf, at the majors, especially representing India at majors. So it would be a great, spectacle to see an Indian winning the major, right?
That's the goal, and I hope that happens. Even if it's not me, I want to be that person. But I hope that definitely happens, because that will change a lot of things back home. Or I hope it will change a lot of things back home. But let's get into the majors first, then we'll talk about what happens next.
Yeah. So when we are talking about the majors, we cannot, put aside Tiger Woods, right? He's one of the players who has influenced your. You have said it in the past also. He has influenced your career a lot.
Yeah.
So, how do you perceive Tiger Woods as an inspirational figure for the current generation?
I,
Because right now he's not that much on the field, right?
that's true. That's true. No, for me, I
Yeah.
grew up in the Tiger era, and it was,
Hmm.
it was a spectacle to behold. I've been fortunate enough to kind of hang out with him, get to know him a little bit uh, through my career, and really, I mean, what he's done on the course, the attitude, the mentality, the domination, and just the consistency. Being able to hit the shot when it matters, make the putt when it matters, get it done. I think no one has got it done more than he has, at least in his prime. Again, I can only speak to what I've seen, but what I've witnessed in my, uh, career in my childhood and now, no one stands out like him. And honestly, he's the reason that golf is where it is, as popular and as
Hmm.
desirable. He's the one who's changed all of that. So I have a lot of respect for him. Um, Truly, he was a genius. But yeah, I think the fact that he's still playing is a miracle. A lot of us know in detail the extent of his injuries and surgeries, and I think if it was anyone else, that person would have stopped playing golf many, many years ago. So it's only because it's Tiger that he's still, working towards playing. But obviously, he's playing at 30, 40%. And even with that, he was still able to win a green jacket, coming back after those injuries. But definitely the ankle injury has, it's a miracle that he's walking, let alone playing golf. So, I just hope that he continues to, be around and sort of, just his presence is a big thing.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And right now, that Tiger is not like fully going to the PGA Tour schedule, and next year he's going to start his TGL, right?
Hmm.
So, TGL is sort of like a team event,
Yeah,
and but it's solely dedicated to the PGA Tour players.
yeah.
So, do you think live golfers are more suited, or let's say experienced, in the team format? And your thoughts about how live golfers can make an impact if they are included in the TGL?
I think it's very important to kind of understand what the TGL is. I think the TGL is, if you were to imagine, looking at a game show on TV,
Hmm.
that is the idea of TGL. The idea of TGL is you're in a
Hmm.
stadium, you stand in one place because that's what they've just built for the TGL. There's a little, stadium that's been built, and all these players they're going to play golf or they're going to hit shots. As far as I know, into simulators, and they're trying to make it
Hmm.
engaging in terms of technology and things like that. So uh, again, I'm no one to comment, but it's not you're not really playing on a golf course. You're not competing out in the open. You are kind of in an enclosed space, in an artificial space, sort of. So I think the whole idea, the concept of PGL is very different from actual golf. So I think I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to be received by people. Uh, but yeah, I think what we are doing is very different. The fact that there's a team involved is probably the only thing that is common. But I don't know how much of it is going to resemble golf as we know it. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting. I'm actually waiting to see what it actually looks like. I've heard a lot of different,
Hmm.
interpretations and things of what it's going to be, but I think we have to wait another 6 months or so
Hmm.
before we get to see it. So yeah, again, I mean, if it's going to bring more people to the game, I'm very happy. Anything that helps to grow the viewership is great, but I don't think it'll have much to do with actually playing golf, walking on a golf course, battling
Hmm.
the elements of weather, having different lies, having different situations. So it'll be interesting. I think it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of a mystery still now because there were delays for the event, right? So
No,
we don't know what actually.
well, it's actually, from what I've heard, it's probably going to be like a game show. It's inside a
Hmm.
stadium and you're hitting balls into a simulator. So you'll probably have a
Yeah.
simulated green, simulated bunker, simulated rough, or whatever. And it's simulator golf. Actually, is what I
Hmm.
have been led to believe. I may be wrong,
Yeah,
but it's not what a lot of people are thinking it is.
yeah. Like it's not as the what we have been seeing as a golf, the hardships, the everything that's going on the field. It's pretty going to be pretty different from
Yeah,
that,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very difficult to compare it to cricket, but if you were to televise Sachin playing against a bowling machine, uh, is very different
Yeah.
from playing a match. So that's why I don't know how it's going to be received. I don't know whether that's what it's going to look like or not, or how are you going to make it engaging. So whether it is like a version of Top Golf or whether it's a hybrid of some other ideas, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So yeah, when talking about the team aspect, I want to go back to Live Golf because there are a lot of great captains in the Live Golf league, right? So we already talked about how Bryson has influenced you.
Mm.
But if in the future, if there's a team change that ever happens for you, which captain would you go for and why? Or would you like to be a captain yourself?
You're going to get me into big trouble. Uh, I don't I don't see myself not at the moment, and I don't see a possibility of me really not being a crusher. I'm fully
Hmm.
invested in this team, and uh, I almost feel like we like to call each other founder members, the four of us. Well, the three of us. Bryson is obviously uh, the star player and an equity holder, but the three of us, Charles, Paul, and myself, we like to consider ourselves founder members, and this is our baby as well. So I don't see myself ever not being a crusher. I hope that doesn't happen. As an eventuality, I would love to carry on and build. Hopefully, create. We are very early, we are very young, but into the league, but start creating a legacy. Not even a legacy. Start creating something that could turn into a legacy down the road. Legacy is a very big word.
Hmm.
It's a heavy word, but a lot of work has to go in before that. We all have a lot of ideas of how the Crushers can be more than just a entertaining team on the golf course and on social media. We want to, eventually have maybe a golf course, Crushers golf club, an actual physical golf club where we can do certain things. We want to have academies. We want to be able to do a lot of work at a social level. Bring a certain amount of impact. I'm also running my own foundation in India, trying to grow golf. How Crushers can help me or help Charles with his foundation or Paul with his ventures, whether it's golf or other things. So there's Crushers means a lot of things. Right now, they haven't yet become alive, but in our mind and in our hearts and in our intention, there's a lot more that we can do as a team, as a franchise, as a brand. And I think it all starts with playing good golf and winning team championships. So we are focused on that.
Hmm.
But as we continue to do that, we're also keeping an eye on this. I know Bryson is all the time he's working on these ideas and he's working really hard on being able to materialize these visions. So yeah, when I talk about those things, it's hard for me to think about not being a crusher. You know, there's like you said, there's a lot of amazing captains, a lot of legendary players. You know, Phil for one is again, if you were to talk about my childhood, him and Tiger going toe to toe. I look up to him a lot, respect him a lot. Fantastic guy. But I think they're all the captains are trying to build their teams and their rosters into people who can fit into their plans and legacies and not legacies into their shall I say 5-year 10-year plans. I think most of the captains they have an idea of what they want their team to look like. So yeah, for me I think I'll just remain a crusher. Hopefully.
Yeah, I hear you. Crushers for life. So yeah, so I know that you will be with the Crushers like, as long as you can. But right now I want to go back to India,
Mm,
how you have been representing the country.
mm.
So the Olympics got over a few weeks ago, right?
Yes.
And you being a two-time Olympian, and despite not making the Olympic team this time because of certain reasons, how
Yeah.
has it affected you mentally not representing your country at the Olympics?
I think it was not easy for me to, I'll be honest, it was not easy for me at the beginning of the year. It was it was a goal for me. I added a lot more tournaments outside of my live schedule, outside of my extensive travel, to try and gain some world ranking points because that is the criteria for qualification. Obviously, like you mentioned, the world rankings are broken. Uh, we are beyond the point where that is questionable. Um, but the thing is, still, qualification for a lot of events is based on world rankings, whether it's majors and the Olympics is another event. So in my head, I had to look at it just like, I look at the majors. Am I passionate about it? Do I want to wear the tricolor? Do I want to continue to, dream about standing on the podium and hearing the national anthem? 100%. So for me, it was like, okay, what can I control? I can try and control my performances in the three or four events where I can where I can earn world ranking points. Unfortunately, I didn't have my best at those events. In fact, my whole year I've actually almost over traveled and overplayed. I've added so much on my plate, but I just look at it like that. I have to. I can't cry about the situation. I kind of knew,
Mm.
how things are going to be and how things were likely to be. We are in that transitional phase. Do I think it'll always be like this, where live players are not going to be able to represent their countries? I hope not. I certainly hope not, because if it does, then golf is going to go from bad to worse in terms of how people view it and how the public responds to it. Because if your best player from your country is not playing, say on the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour or even the Asian Tour and is playing on live, then you have an issue. We have people like Mito Pereira, who's and Joaquin and some of these South American players who are head and shoulders above most anyone else playing golf, at least at the minute, from their nations. And if this continues, they may not make it to the next Olympics or the next, whatever, Latin America Games or Asian Games for instance, for me, things like that. So I hope that changes. Was I disappointed?
Yeah.
Yes. But again, I'm a professional. I understand how these things work. And, I was really happy and cheering for Shubhankar and Gagan. I think it's a great honor. It's a great privilege. You have to earn it. Yeah, maybe it was harder for me to earn it this year. But there was still an outside chance. And, I can only control how I played there. And I didn't play my best. So for me, it was try your best, give it everything, and move on. And I just have to continue to do that. I have to look to the next thing.
Yeah. We are also hoping that the next Olympics you are able to represent India.
Well, firstly, I have to be playing my best. I don't want to just go to the Olympics and not be playing at a level where I can medal.
Mm.
I think this year I can safely say that I'm playing well enough to have a chance. So I think that's most important. I wouldn't want to be taking up space on a team where I don't have my best golf. I think that is a disservice to the country, and that would be selfish.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yes, if somebody is playing at a really good level and is able to realistically have a chance to bring some silverware back for the country, then yes, definitely, that person should have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, now that we have been talking a while about the changing golf
Hmm.
landscape, let's take a breather from all the serious stuff. Let's
Okay.
play a round of rapid fire questions.
Okay, sure.
So, but don't worry, I won't be attacking you with any problematic questions.
I'll
Just
I'll be the
something to
judge of
get to know you
that.
better. Cool. So, yeah, shall we start with the
Yeah,
rapid fire
yeah, let's go.
questions? Yeah. Okay. So the first question: a purchase you have never felt guilty of splurging.
Watches. I think that's something that I really that's a passion of mine. I'm actually studying horology and watchmaking on the side because I think it's I'm a creative person myself on the golf course, and I think mechanical watches are masterpieces. They're like art. So I love studying them. I love whatever uh, basic collections or collecting I can do. I love my watches. So that's probably the one
Yeah.
my one thing that I love.
Yeah. So second one, dream date.
Dream date, it's more like dream place because where can I take my wife where she
Yeah.
will feel really happy, and I think it would be any of anything out in the nature. She loves nature. She loves greenery and being out in the wild. So maybe have a dream date in the salt plains of the Atacama Desert. I think that's one place where she wants to go. She loves stargazing, so I'd love to be able to do that with her.
Great. Then the next one, Masters or the Open?
Oh God, this is the hardest one. I will say the Open, and the only reason I say that, I mean, don't get me wrong, a green jacket would look lovely on me, but the only reason I say that is because growing up in India, the Open was always on TV at
Hmm.
prime time. Because of the time difference, I watched a lot of the Open Championship, as opposed to the Masters, which came on at 3 o'clock in the morning, and Masters being in April, it's always exam season. So it was right before this exam or that exam. So I never got to watch as much of the Masters. So growing up, I think in my dreams or in my head, yeah, the Open is I would say just maybe 0.5% more special. But yeah, I'll take any of those two.
Great, great. So next one, your biggest regret.
Uh, that's a tough one actually. I've had a lot of moments in my golf career where uh, things haven't gone my way. Not one, but many.
Hmm.
And when I was really close to it, or immediately after, like when the wound is fresh, you regret doing this or doing that. I wish I had done this or done that. But I think what experience and so many years of playing golf at this level has taught me is that those moments are probably your biggest lessons in life, both on and off the course. So honestly, it sounds cliched, but I don't regret anything that has happened. The regret would be for me not to learn from it.
Yeah. So the final question. Let's say movies made on you and the Crushers. Which actors do you want to represent you and your teammates?
This is actually a really good one. So I would say to play me, I would probably ask Maddie, who's become a friend of mine, our Madhavan. He's here in Dubai also, and he loves golf a lot. So I would love for Maddie to play me because I love him and I love how he performs as an actor. He's amazing. So yeah, for myself it'd probably be him. I think for Bryson, you'd probably take John Cena. you know, you take because and I laugh about it because for the obvious reasons. I think for Paul, I would. We keep joking with Paul that he's the suave Englishman and he's very mysterious. So I probably ask Daniel Craig to play him because we probably call Paul Mr. Bond every now and then. So and then I think the name escapes me. For Charles, he's the most uh, gentlemanly person, very southern. So I would pick one of I'm forgetting the name of the actor. You could probably put it in the subtitles later. He does advertisements for Lincoln commercials. Again, very famous actor, but definitely I'd ask him to do it. He loves golf as well.
Oh,
The name is escaping me, but I think that would make for a pretty interesting cast.
yeah. That movie would be awesome because of this cast itself.
Yeah, I just thought of John Cena, but that would be pretty funny.
Yeah. Great, great. So that's a wrap to our rapid fire question section. So yeah, right now I want to dive a bit back to your past, your
Sorry, I'm going
childhood
to come
days,
back.
and
Matthew McConaughey. There it is. The name came
oh
to me.
yeah,
Matthew
Yeah,
McConaughey
he.
for Charles Howell III.
Oh, it would be a great cast to be honest. I'll put my money for the ticket. So yeah, as I was mentioning, I would like to go a bit back to your past, how you became a golfer. So as you have rightfully put, cricket is not just a sport but a religion in India, right?
Hmm.
So and golf definitely is not the top priority sport for any Indian at the moment. However, thanks to your military background and your father, you had access to the best golf courses in India,
Hmm.
and from generally from an early age. So now choosing a sports career is tough enough in India, and you chose golf. So how and when did you start about thinking about becoming a professional? And do you think that if not for your military background, would you have chosen the sport?
No, I think I owe a lot of, you know, I owe a lot to the armed forces. I owe a lot to the Indian Army for the golf courses, to my dad for introducing me to the game. I think I grew up playing on Army courses, which are very basic, but the thing is that it gives you access. It allows you to interact with the sport. It allows you to, um, learn it. And access is, I think, the biggest issue. You know, that's what, like I mentioned about the Barn Foundation, which I started earlier this year. I'll just touch upon it right now. Is the biggest barriers for people to get into golf. There are two barriers. One is equipment expense, and the
Hmm.
second is access. So, that's what I had, luckily, and that's what we are working on, in terms of giving equipment, giving coaching, and, tying up with golf courses and places where kids can just come for very, very nominal, amounts of money. And if you are from underprivileged or a economically challenged background, then for no money. So, coming back to your question, for me it was that just having access, learning, having the support of my parents, which is huge. I grew up in the late 90s, when I was in my teens, and it was not easy. Today there's a very different view on sports. There's a different view on careers in sport. At my time, it was unheard of. Jeev and Jyoti and Arjun were like the three pioneers from India who were doing it, and really of any note internationally. We've had some legends in India, no doubt. Ali Sher, Rohtas Singh, Gaurav Ghai even, but internationally at the highest level, not so many people. So for me at that point of time, I really wasn't thinking about doing it professionally. It wasn't until I was about 17 and a half, 18, where I had to, I moved to Bangalore to work with my coach Vijay Devecha and see if I can get better. Because I was a very average junior. I wasn't exceptional. Even though I managed to make the team, I probably was in the top two in the country. It was always, Gagan and Ajitesh at that time. So, but when I turned amateur, I had to work really hard, and I started focusing more on golf, because till then I was focusing more on education. And right around 20 is when I started, in that phase between 17 and a half and 20 is when I made a lot of progress. And that's when it became a reality that, oh, I think I'm playing well enough to turn pro. So let's do it. But up until that point of time, I really didn't know. So it was very late in my career that, I won't say late because 20 is still young, but it's not like today where, 10, 12, 13-year olds are aspiring to be professionals. I never thought that I was going to play pro golf, even till 18, 19, I wasn't sure. So yeah, I think that was my story. And then, going through the ranks, having the PGTI, the Asian Tour, at that time European Tour. So yeah, it was a lovely journey.
Yeah. And you have mentioned in the past that how your father inspired your golfing career, right?
Mm.
So, apart from you and your father, does anyone in the family have the golf blood in them?
Not really. No, it's actually, that's a good question. No, it's just my father. He, and him, like a lot of other army officers. I think it's a very popular pastime, or was at least at the time that I was growing up. Golf was just something that a lot of them did after work. They'd all get off at 2, 3 or whatever, and then the done thing was to go play a few holes, 9 holes in the evening, time permitting. So that was how it was. I would come back from school, and then head out with him. And then I think, when I started getting a little better, it was less about his golf, more about my golf. So, I don't think he's played much golf now in the last 20 years. Um, but no, he was instrumental, also in, being the person to stand behind me and say, you do this. If you really want to do it, do it. He's a doctor himself. I'm Bengali, so education is very, 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 very important to us. And I come, from a line of doctors. My uncle's a pathologist, dad's a gynecologist, grandfather's a radiologist, and you know, on one side, and on the other side, my mother's a professor, a Fulbright scholar, English literature. My uncle is a XLR IIM. So we are all very well educated and hold that in very high regard. So not that I wasn't good at studies or didn't want education, but to pursue sport, you have to deviate a lot from the mainstream. So I think my father was instrumental in standing behind me and allowing me to do it. My mother was the quintessential mother. She just worried for me. She wanted me to be healthy and happy and in a good place, and she continues to do that today, like all mothers do. So I'm very grateful to have parents like I did and like I do, who continue to support me in whatever capacity I need the support. So I'm very grateful.
Great. So there's this one question I really had at the back of my mind.
Sure.
Like I wanted to ask this to a professional golfer. Like, how do you spend your off time when not playing golf?
So I think anybody who has two children, especially two children under the age of 5, will know that the concept of free time doesn't exist, especially when your wife is handling all the work for most of the year. So for me, I look forward to coming back and just being with my children, playing with them, whether it's doing puzzles or kicking a ball or painting or just doing nothing around them. For me, that takes up. I won't say takes up. That's what I would spend 80% of my off time, doing with them. And other than that, I like to catch up with my friends here. Recently, we started playing a lot more paddle. It's all the rage in Dubai and all over the world, so we might go and do that. So yeah, I'm just a regular normal guy. Outside. Golf is what I do. That's my work. That's my passion and all that. But when I take this hat off and I come home, I've got two monkeys hanging from my shoulders, just like anybody else, and I love that. That's a big part of life, and I'm again very grateful and fortunate to be able to experience both.
Yeah, yeah, sounds great. Now, like you had once revealed that the 2015 Malaysian Open and the Indian Open wins and being in the top 35 in the world were the turning points of your career, right? Then you got picked in the President's Cup for the international team the same year, and you were the first Indian to ever get that honor.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, yeah, the last part of the President Cup, it was really heartbreaking for you and your fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, coming from such confidence boosters and getting such a heartbreak, how did young Anirban deal with it mentally and, of course, career-wise?
Oh, I think it's a very important moment in my career. It was it was one where I had to kind of ask myself a lot of questions. Like everybody, like I said earlier, when I look back at things that when you ask me the question about regrets, if you ask me a month or 2 months after that incident, did I regret what happened? I would have said yes, I really regret it. But when I look back at it now, it was a very bitter pill to swallow, no doubt. But it just made me stronger. It made me more motivated to come back and earn my place back on the President's Cup team and prove myself. And I think I was able to do that 2 years later at Liberty National. We got completely outplayed by the Americans that year, no doubt about it. But for me personally, going out and winning the best ball match on Saturday afternoon with Siwoo Kim, we were playing Charlie Hoffman and was it Kevin Kisner? No, it was Kevin Chappell. And then on Sunday, even though I think the President's Cup was out of our reach, I was two down with two to play or two down with three to play against Kevin Kisner, and I halved my match. Um, so those were just ways for myself to vindicate to myself that I will come back stronger from these disappointments, from these heartbreaks. I will steel myself, and I will push myself harder. And I think that's what all these, if you want to label them as failures, or you want to label them bad results, or whatever you want to label it, these heartbreaks and these moments, um, I've learned that how you respond to them, how you react to them, and how you learn from them is what defines you. So yeah, that's how I look back at it. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
You learn, and you live, and you move on.
Mhm. So after that, like talking about your career, I would like to go back to the PGA Tour career that you had.
Yeah.
So winning a title wasn't in your luck with
Yeah.
the PGA Tour, right?
It's been my story
You
for a
still
while
had an
now. I can't
impress.
wait to change it.
You still had an impressive career. Like you had a solo lead after the third round at 2022 Players, then the 2017 Memorial Tournament. You were tied in the second position with Ricky Fowler,
Yeah.
and you had several other top 10 finishes.
Hmm.
But however, not having a win might have affected you a little bit, right? So have you ever thought about like quitting golf altogether in those
Many
times?
times.
Because you have, oh,
Many times.
okay.
I think there were many times in my career where I was not enjoying what I was doing. There were, I mean, people who are close to me, my inner circle, my support staff, they know very well that I've had a lot of challenges. Well, now you call it mental health challenges, or you call them, you can name them many different things. More athletes, cricketers, other sportsmen, everyone's talking about it. But what we do is very difficult in terms of the pressure involved and the stakes involved. Life and death is how we look at every tournament, every round of golf. That's and you have to, if you want to be a cutthroat competitor, if you have to be uh, playing at that level against the best players in the world. I mean, to some extent, you have to look at it like that. Your attitude, approach has to be like that. So there were many, many moments in my career where I was like, this is too much. I can't. I'm unable to win, or I'm having so much difficulty doing this by myself. Especially my time on the PGA Tour was very challenging. Being away from India, my friends, my family, even my coach, because I think Vijay sir has been a very important part of my life, not just as a coach, not just as a technical guide, but as a life guide as well. He's like a second father to me, and not having access to him or being around him, and kind of being able to put regular work into my golf started showing. I would say, if I look back at my time on the PGA Tour, I feel like I never really played my A golf. I was always stuck between playing C and at best B plus golf in the middle, but I never played my A or A plus golf. So that was probably a big disappointment for me. And no matter what I tried, whether it was seeing other coaches or changing my practice routines and trying to be innovative, it was a big struggle for me. So to answer your question, yes,
Yeah.
it was not always easy. From the outside looking in, it looks very pretty, but a lot of us go through this all the time, and you just have to
Mm.
get through it. You need to surround yourself with good people. My wife, my parents, my friends, and my team. They've been they've been pillars, and every athlete needs that. So you have to build that team. That's why every successful or accomplished athlete, sports person will always talk about his team. Just like so
Mm.
some words that get used over and over again is what is my process, what is my team. These are the key words, but essentially, as much as they get repeated, they are that important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you were talking about your team, your family, your friends,
Yeah.
your coach. Then in the professional career, you have talked about how Tiger Woods motivated you to become a pro golfer, and right now you are one of the role models for young Indian golfers,
Yeah.
right? And your golf is still, but the golf as a sport is not still not popular in India.
Hmm.
But you were lucky to have parents who were open towards
Yeah.
your career decision.
Yeah.
So, do you have any message to the parents now in India or across the world whose kids wants
Well,
to be a pro golfer one day?
I think it's a very difficult one because it's difficult to speak to everyone. Everyone is all children are different. Every individual is unique. I think I'm a parent myself now, and it's difficult. You don't want your child to get hurt. You want good things for your child to happen. You are protective by nature. That's your job. So to some extent, it's almost counterintuitive. That you are letting your child get hurt. You are letting your child potentially fail. But I think that's very, very important. The most important thing is, having an amount of having a relationship with your child, with your daughter or son. Do you really want it? Do you understand what it means in terms of what you have to do? Your discipline, your commitment, how hard you have to work, and how much effort you have to put in, and you have to be ready for failures upon failures because your success is going to be built on the foundation of those failures. So you know have that relationship with your child and be open, allow them to fail, allow them to learn, but make sure that they are really, really passionate and committed. And that's the only thing that was demanded of me. My parents always demanded that, okay, you want to play golf, you got to keep your grades up. Okay, that's a fair expectation. But you will have to get up on Sunday at 5 a.m. You will have to get up, at 5 a.m. on the weekends, and you have to go and practice yourself. You have to, I had to learn how to make tea at 12 because I had to make sure that I made tea for dad so that, after his tea, he would take me for golf. So it's small things like that. The commitment and the motivation has to come from your child. I would say that if you're pushing your child to turn pro, then that's probably more dangerous. But yeah, just support them, talk to them, understand them, and make them understand.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked about how your tips for the parents. So let's say, however, for a golf beginner like me
Mm.
who wants to play golf as a hobby
Yeah,
and make it as my routinely
pastime.
hobby, do you
Yeah.
have any tips to share?
I would say
Especially like,
I would say
uh,
try and get out to your nearest golf course, golf club. Uh,
mm,
Unfortunately, in India, we don't have things like Top Golf or driving
yeah,
ranges. That's something I hope changes. There are a lot of people who are working on these ideas. Just go out and have a hit if you can. Ideally, go take a lesson and go with your friends. Don't go alone.
mm,
Go as a group. Because for me, golf as an activity started with me spending time with my father. So
mm,
the exciting part of it was hanging out, right? You want it to be fun. So it's important to kind of make sure that it's fun when you learn. If you go out by yourself and you're grinding it out and you're struggling to hit this stationary ball, which is what happens initially, it's not as much fun. So try and do it as a group, or at least, take one or two friends with you and do it like that. Make sure it's fun. Make sure that, when your friend hits one really good, you're like, hey, you did it, I got to be able to do it, and then you do one. And so that's what makes it fun. Golf is supposed to be a social
yeah,
activity. It's an individual sport,
yeah,
but actually it's a social activity. So you want to do it
yeah,
like that. You want to do it in a way that it remains fun. And that's all I would say.
yeah. So yeah, when talking about golfing tips, one major issue that almost all the golf enthusiasts face is the expense of buying a golf kit,
True.
right? It's quite expensive.
Yes.
So, what are the clubs you would suggest to invest in before going all in for the
I, I
sport?
think I think you need to find a place where you don't need to actually buy clubs. You can rent them. Most places now, most golf courses, most ranges, you can just go there and say, I want to hit for a while. Can I rent a 7 iron? Can I rent a 3 wood? Can I rent a pitching wedge? Whatever, like basic clubs. Just rent a couple of clubs, and then invest only if you love it. Invest if you like it. And at that point of time, you have a lot of options. You can buy second-hand clubs. You can buy a few clubs here, a few clubs there. Just depends on how much of the golf bug you've got. But I would say start off by just get your feet wet. Don't go all in straight
Okay.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of your tips was to go to the golf courses, right? But
Yeah.
in India only there are a certain, like, the number of public golf courses are pretty slim, right? Do you think changing that will build a massive golfing community in India?
Yes, but again, it's a tough proposition. I have a lot of people that contact me who are trying to start driving ranges, who are trying to start, concepts like Top Golf, for instance. It's not easy, because land is it's like gold, right? You don't have enough, and whatever you have, there are 100 things you can do with it. Most people who have it are looking to see, how they can profit from it the most. Um, Others are looking at using it for things like housing or things like commercial property, etc., etc. So it's difficult to actually put up a driving range that's not miles and miles outside the city. And if you put one up miles and miles outside the city, then who's going to come? So it's a difficult proposition. There are some people that I know who are working on it. But here's where the government can come in. They do a lot for Olympic sports. So they need to recognize it's kind of like what China does. They say, oh, okay, we're going to make diving into a premier sport, and then next thing over a 5-10 year period, these kids are getting trained, the best coaches are being flown in. We don't have to do what China does, not to that level, but just recognition of the fact that okay, this is an Olympic sport, it deserves some attention, some investment, some love, will help. So you could potentially have some more public driving ranges or public golf courses. You take a dump yard or a place where you have kharab land, land that can't be used for other things. And then you can turn it into a driving range. It doesn't take much. It doesn't even take grass. You can just put mats, So there are ways to do it, but the intent has to be there, and someone has to. It's hard. It's hard as an individual to kind of bring about systemic changes. It's unfortunate. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing with my foundation. So I'm using existing infrastructure, golf courses that are underutilized, places that exist that people don't use, and try and use that more. So we'll see. We're all trying our best.
Yeah. So I have one more question before we head into the last segment.
Okay.
So we have a Gary Player design deal, of course. Like, that's where I actually met you for the first time for the Hero Indian Open.
Yeah.
Then there's Greg Norman designed JP Greens.
Yeah.
So we have two pretty good golf courses. So do you think LIV Golf would come there in the future?
Safe to say that I'm trying very hard to get LIV to come to India. We've talked to a lot of people. We continue to talk to a lot of people, but we need some investment, some sponsorship money also. With LIV's popularity outside of America reaching the heights that it has, that there has to be something that draws LIV to India outside of just me and outside of just the social impact. But yeah, we are working on it, and hopefully we have an event. Definitely not next year, but by 2026, 27 maybe. That's the goal.
Great. I'm looking forward to attending a LIV Golf in India.
No, that would be a dream for me now. It'd be amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I have taken around like more than 1 hour of your time. I just have one more segment left with you.
We'll make it quick.
So So it's a small segment actually where I will explain a feeling or a situation, and you will have to pick either one or the other.
Okay.
That's it.
Sure.
Yeah. So the first question is that, are you a coffee guy or a tea guy?
Coffee. 100%.
Coffee. Yeah. Okay. The next one is, which is the better feeling, the best feeling, winning a LIV Golf individual championship or LIV Golf team championship?
As much as I want to win another team championship, right now I'd say individual because I know what it feels like to win a team championship, and I would love to, get over that hump, break that barrier and win individually again.
Okay. So the next question is, who is the better captain, Nick Price or Bryson DeChambeau?
Oh boy. I'm going to say Nick Price. And I say that only because of his experience, only because, Bryson is going to grow much, much more as an individual, as a captain, as a person, and become, a much even better version of himself, and a better version of a captain. He's young, and he's growing very quickly. He's learning very fast. But yeah, I mean, Nick's a legend. The way he took me under his wing. We talked about the President's Cup in Korea. He was, phenomenal. I love him to death.
Okay, so the next question is, which would be your biggest achievement? Winning an Olympic win, an Olympic gold medal, or a major win?
Personally, selfishly, definitely a major. But if I was to look at it as an impact, maybe Olympic gold.
Yeah. Okay. The dream team championship venue for you, Augusta National or Trump Turnberry?
I would say neither. I think Augusta is the home of the Masters, and it'll always be, and that's what it's associated with. Trump Turnberry is a phenomenal golf course. I've played there many years ago. But I would love the team championship to be, in a place where you can pack the people in, make that energy something else. So maybe Australia, we had 30,000 people a day.
Yeah.
And it's a great golf course to have match play because you can make a lot of birdies. So I would actually go outside of those two options and say maybe Australia or Japan, or Korea, or go to a place where people will go berserk because you want that. You want the energy.
Yeah, great. So the last question, if you can go back to the past and make one change in your career, would you never choose LIV Golf or choose to play LIV Golf from the very beginning of your career?
I wouldn't change anything because the way it happened, the way it worked out, it was meant to be. So again, I look back at everything that's happened with me and I'm just filled with gratitude. So yeah, I mean, I won't change a thing.
Great. So that would wrap up all my questions. And thank you for a valuable time. I took around 1 hour 15 minutes of your time.
It's okay.
But it was one of the greatest experience of my life to interview
That's very kind
someone.
of you, Arvind. Very sweet of you. I enjoyed it thoroughly as well.
Thank you.